Looking for signs of distress. Now, there are many ways investors can look for signs of distress, and at the same time, whilst it may be a good thing on your pocket, sometimes it is a bad thing for the person on the other side. Now, I know that's just the way investing can work sometimes, but it's important to consider that that's happening. Now, as an investor, when you're considering these things, at a high level, you want to firstly drill down. There are many softwares and databases and research available. For example, NMD Data, SQM Research, and a few others are providing some lists of distressed or properties with some issues there. Now, what they usually work on is a high level and deep review of keywords and movements in listing. So, example, the words like deceased estate, distressed, mortgagee, possession, all these different things can come up. But if you think about it and you go, well, Australia doesn't have much affordable property, and you start putting in $400,000 in your listing across 4 or 5 cities and put below, you're going to see 8,000-9,000 plus properties at times come up. So that means there's a lot of properties, A, that are affordable, but then B, for you to try and find which one is having some issues with, whether it be distressed, deceased, mortgagee possession, must sell now, motivated vendor, all these different keywords coming into it. Now, that's just the start of it. But when you look into it, there are a few other signals to consider. When you get to the micro, there's time stress, discounting stress, campaign stress. So campaign stress can come up from the review of what's on the campaign in terms of the words, sometimes the photography, sometimes discussions with agents. And very easily do people actually miss out the discussions with the agents. They think that, sales agent and me can't be friends and we've really got to go at each other, and they're not going to tell me that anyway. But if you ask the question, then you'll know. How motivated is this vendor to sell this property? Is there anything that you're able to share that makes you feel that I should come up with this X level of offer to try and secure this property? Now, obviously, they want the best value in the price for their vendor, but at times, there is a genuine need to sell now, and there is that compromise that the party needs to make, and they will just genuinely let you know of it, right? It's hard to say who might be saying what, but from that angle, that will help. Campaign stress is just one of them, but going into the next part is discounting stress. We've seen suburb averages for discounting. Where does that land? How does it sit amongst the average? But at the same time, don't be tricked by that, because they may have listed it fairly, and so then the discounting and the stress of the suburb may not really mean as much because they've just fairly listed it. But that is one thing to consider in terms of movements. We've seen properties, for example, offers over 330 and suddenly offers over 309. Well, imagine what would have happened if someone paid 335 and they hit that offers over. You don't have to do what the agent is asking you to do as a sales agent. However, if it's relative, if it's fair, if it's set well, that may and truly well be the range. So that can be another part, which is discounting stress. Time stress is another one. How long has this been on market? Sometimes too long on market can show problems and issues, but at the same time, they can be some of the best opportunities. I can take you back to one opportunity that's probably been one of the best purchases in my own portfolio. It was on market for a shocking 11 months. People may go, whoa, why? Why'd you even touch that? What's the reasons? Sometimes if you're looking at markets before their massive cycles, before their growth periods, it's not expected for it to go fast. Otherwise, you might be buying mid-cycle. Or you might be buying at the start of a rise, which is okay, but at the same time, it's important to consider that you may be just buying not in the time where everyone sees it. Now, as crazy that may sound, 11 months in, Arjun, what are you doing buying a property? That's actually been my best performing property in my portfolio. So when you think about that, it's not always about how long it's on market, but how long it's on market can also help you when it comes to negotiation. Sometimes distressed properties can be the ones that last for a few hours. And that's just where they've been honest and open on the motivation of the vendor. The agent's been open and honest with regards to the stress that's here from a campaign level. They've decided to discount it very quickly, not in terms of from listing price A to listing price B, but just a very fairly set listing price A. And then that time stress isn't an issue because it just sold off in 2 hours or the same day, or 2 days later. And we've seen these sorts of things happen. So when considering distress, there's all these tools and databases that can help you from a macro level. But when you come down to the micro, campaign, discounting, time are the key core components. And if it's off market, starting to review some of where it genuinely sits in comparison to comparable sales. There are little other tips to throw in there as well. For example, title searches. Having a look at title searches can help you uncover the lender or if there is a loan on there. Now, there are traditional lenders and alternate lenders, and usually people don't go to alternate lenders in case they have a very unique scenario, which in that case might be within reason, or have a specialized self-employed or other types, or at times it can be because they're genuinely stressed, they couldn't get the right loan approval, and they now had to go to an alternate bank to get that loan approval at higher interest rates. So when looking at that, the title search can sometimes help. It can also help you realize that it's not really distressed. If you think of places that may be saying, mortgagee possession or distressed, and you have a look at the title search and there's no mortgage on there at all. So these are some of the things to consider, although it could be that they have other mortgages elsewhere, and that's where they need to sell it off. That's it from us here at InvestorKit, the experts in wealth creation, helping you take action.